I'm joined now in our studio in Westminster by Reform MP Lee Anderson. Lee, let's start with the news coming from France today. Place you spent quite a bit of time in the migrant camps. A young man tragically stabbed to death in Dunkirk. Of your experience over there, I bet you're not surprised that these kind of incidents are kicking off.
Not surprised, Martin, to be honest with you. When we was there, I think it was last year, January 2023, the message coming out loud and clear from the local police and local politicians that we were speaking to on the ground is that there's a lot of crime in these camps. There's gangs, there's attacks, there's some sex crimes, unfortunately. The town that they're in, Calais, where we went, lots of crime there, break-ins, thefts, etc. And the sad part is, Martin, we've got these criminals, this criminal activity in these camps, in these migrant camps, and they're just waiting to come to this country. And we put them on a boat, they come here, we pick them up, put them in a hotel, hey presto, a year or whatever later, they get British citizenship, they get their asylum claim passed. Some of them go to church and claim that they are Christians. Actually, all we're doing, we're not importing doctors, nurses, professionals, brain surgeons, consultants. We're importing a lot of the time is thieves, sex offenders, and unfortunately sometimes murderers. And this gutless government needs to get a grip of this.
I was joined in the studio earlier, fascinating guest, Sue Reed, Special Investigations Editor at the Daily Mail, spent 20 years on this trail, first the lorries, then the boats. She said something fascinatingly. She said that every asylum seeker is a gold bar to the smugglers and they want to do everything they can to get them to Britain. She said something which I know will resonate with you. And she said in all of her time, in all of the things that have been put into place, she now believes the only way we will ever stop this is if we simply stop picking up dinghies in the Channel.
I've said it from day one, Martin, in the chamber in that place over there. The moment they land on these shores, we should put them on a boat and send them straight back to France. That's the only way you're going to stop it. Pushbacks in the Channel as well. And I've always said, look, if we can pick people up in the Channel and bring them to this country, we can pick them up in the Channel and take them straight back to France. It takes courage, it takes political will, and unfortunately the government over there and Parliament as a whole haven't got that courage. But the British people demand this now, because we see it time and time again. Another nearly 1,000 at the weekend come over, Martin. How many of those in that 1,000 are going to be committing all sorts of horrible crimes in this country? The people of this country have had enough. They're fed up to the back teeth.
Now you're no longer in the Conservative Party and you see the Prime Minister Rishi Sunak with his podium saying stop the boats. I mean, you shake your head there. Do you think he ever believed he could stop the boats? Do you think he ever truly wanted to stop the boats?
I could stop the boats tomorrow. Tomorrow is that simple. I'll just explain it to you, Martin. Pushbacks, and the moment they land here, send them straight back to France. And we had a golden opportunity last year with the Rwanda flights. That should have gone, that flight. The Prime Minister, the Home Secretary should have said, we're not listening to you. That flight's going. And I think if that flight had gone off then, this problem would have been stopped now, because there's no way. I mean, I spoke to the people in the migrant camps about the Rwanda plan, and they told me, these young men told me, that there is no way they would come to this country if they thought they were going straight on a plane to Africa. Simple as that.
I want to ask you, Lee, about another aspect of the camps, and that's the NGOs, the charities. Yeah. And yesterday, Care for Calais were making another demand, and that is this time we should take a Palestinian refugee scheme, a bit like the Ukrainian one. And I wanted to get your take on what you think of the charities, the NGOs that seem to be doing everything they can to undermine the government's work and the will of the people.
So these NGOs, Martin, Care for Calais, I've spent a day with them in Calais, actually, and these are as bad as complicit as the people smugglers. They are actively encouraging young men to come from Africa to go to this camp. They're feeding them, clothing them, giving them shelter. Nothing wrong with that. That's a humane thing to do. They're giving them new mobile phones and data and learning them how to speak English. These are the same young men, some of them, not all of them, by the way, but some of them who are committing crimes in France in these camps, and then we ship them to our wonderful country. They take advantage of the asylum system. Like I say, these NGOs taking advantage of the asylum system is a whole business. It's a £1 billion industry now. And you're quite right. These young men, it is all young men, let's be honest. They're currency for the people smugglers. They're worth a lot of money. They're not coming from Africa on foot with 3, 4, 5 grand in their pocket to pay people smugglers. They're coming into a life of debt as soon as they get in. They have to work that off, whether it be in a car wash, whether it be in crime, whether it be in a cannabis grow. That's how they pay the debt off.
Now, of course, Care for Calais would say that they're doing the humane thing, and you mentioned that yourself. They're not here to defend themselves and whatnot. Let's talk about the poll that's out today. So YouGov predicting 155 seats for the Conservatives at the next general election, but a poll earlier this week said it will only be 80. Could be an absolute wipeout, and the main factor, of course, is your new party, the Reform Party, being that wedge. Second place, splitting the vote, as some people would call it. Now you're with Reform, obviously a lot of people will be saying, oh, you're splitting the vote, a bit like they said to me when I was on the Brexit Party, splitting your vote, don't let Jeremy Corbyn in. Is that something that resonates with you, or do you think people now...
Well, it used to, Martin, not anymore. I mean, you could say that the Conservative Party is splitting the vote. There's a lot of anger out there about just two-party politics. People, we talked about the migrant crisis earlier. People are fed up with that. We're fed up with illegal migration. They are fed up to the back teeth of legal migration as well. 1.2 million coming into the country last year. And it's the same old song being chirped out by both political parties. They do not listen to the public, and people, quite frankly, have had enough, and the Reform Party gives people an alternative.
Now, have you got any new information for us about the numbers of people that are signing up? They were calling it the Lee Anderson effect. There were 2,000 more or less overnight. What's the latest scores on the doors, Lee?
I think it was in March, it was 5,500 new members signed up to the Reform Party, which is pretty good. I know in Ashfield there's quite a few of my ex-Conservative members cancelled the membership and joined the Reform Party. It's going to be happening all over the country. Like I said, Martin, people are fed up. They want an alternative. And they're fed up of political parties making promises just before elections and then going back on them.
Now, it seems that the Conservative Party are taking you seriously because, as Nigel Farage said, you only get flack when you're above the target. And they're giving you a bit of flack. They're putting a few candidates out. That it's very, very hard to vet 600 candidates. I know that. I've been involved in that process myself. But they seem to be having a pop. Does that show that they're concerned about you?
Well, it is difficult. You need 650 candidates for a general election. And the other political parties, if they want to just scratch the surface a little bit and look at some of their history, I think there's over the past 10, 15 years, probably 7 Labour MPs ended up inside for all sorts of shenanigans. I think we had one in our intake that's ended up in prison for some vile crime. So it happens, It's a difficult job to vet and make sure that every single candidate is squeaky clean.
When you were still in the Conservative Party, and is there a sense of they don't believe, because of the two-party system, that another party can ever truly be a threat? And so, therefore, is there a complacency sometimes that maybe seem to be bordering on arrogance? Yeah,
because it's been that way, Martin, for, 100 years now, since the Labour Party was born, that it's two-party politics. It's either Conservative